साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Hari Om and Namaskar to all of you. I am here to talk to you on leadership mantras. It's an uphill task to the people of because HILL for me was a hill. And everyone says, no, it's not hill. What do you call it? Huh? HLL. There is no I in it. But it looked like I in your logo. So I said, I'm going for hill lecture. So HLL. Hindustan Latex Limited. Is that it? Life Care Limited. Oh, so what does HLL stand for? So then that remained, and then that was okay, fine. So I thought it's what? Okay, wonderful. Now, let's think about a few success stories on management and then learn from how such leaders became successful. There was once a king, and in his rule, things were not going on fine. The king felt that the whole country was going down, deteriorating day by day. And in the good old days, these kings had gurus. So if they had problems, what did they do? They went to their gurus. So he went to his guru and said, look, I have a problem. My kingdom is not as fine as it should be. There is something probably wrong with me. Can you teach me, give me knowledge? In the good old days, gurus also used to teach in different ways. They need not talk. They demonstrated in their own unique fashion. This is okay, we will talk in the morning. Spend the night with me. So on the river bank, the guru and the shishya, the king, spent the night. It's quite cold. So the guru lit a bright fire. And by dusk, early morning, dawn, the fire had gone off and the river continued to flow. So the next day morning, the guru told the shishya, what did you learn? He says, I didn't learn anything. He says, there was a fire and there was the river. What happened to the fire? All that was put into the fire got burnt up. Right? It was brilliant. In all the darkness, the fire was aglow. Brilliant. It burnt everything, it gave us heat, but itself died. The river was calm and quiet. It soft and gentle, cool and reviving and life-giving. What happened to the river? It was flowing from the beginning. All night it flowed. The force didn't become less or more. Continued to flow. And when this river goes closer and closer to the ocean, it will become wider and wider till it meets the ocean. There are two types of leaders. One is called fire leader, other is called river leader. You have become a fire leader. Yourself brilliant, but your glow is such that no one dares to come close to you. You burn everything that comes into you. People are scared of you. No one mixes with you, no one. And what happens? Slowly and slowly the fire goes. And finally, if you remain like this, slowly and slowly what will happen? Your kingdom, the power of your kingdom and everything will go away. Whereas if you become like the river, soft and gentle, it goes into the hearts of everyone. You win over the love of everyone, and before you know, you revive everyone, you rejuvenate everyone, and you keep expanding yourself and you flow forever. So first lesson on leadership. What type of leaders should we be? Please tell me, you decide. The river leader or the fire leader? Okay? Find out what is your leadership style. And please don't think only leader means the top CEO or MD. Remember, each one of you is a leader. This is what the Gita says very, very importantly. Every one of us without exception, the one who is working at the lowest rung in a company also is a leader to someone or the other. All of us are leaders to our children at home. Is it true or not? This is a very, very important lesson, because you know, when people talk of leadership, they only look at the top 5, 10 people and they think about them as leaders. No, every one of us with zero exception is a leader, is leading someone or the other. And I am telling you, in your department, even you may be in the smallest position in your department, yet others are watching you. Is it true or not? And if you're really performing well, others are what? Eyeing you. And the fact is that before you know, if you're really doing well, you rise up automatically. Is it true or not? You may be at the lowest rung, but if you perform well, if you are doing fine, you automatically become a leader. 5 people start looking at you, looking up to you, and before you know, you have risen. And interestingly, some people will start pulling you down also. Will you remember that? Whenever anyone pulls you down, don't criticize them, don't think bad of them. The very fact that they are pulling you down shows that you are above them. Will you remember that? What? The very fact that someone is trying to pull you down means what? Where are they? Where are they? They are below you. That's why they are pulling you down. Okay? So never complain. So each one of us is it. So don't think about a leader only in terms of someone on the top, some 5 people or 10 people on the top, and then the rest of them as though, no. We're talking about every one of us. You can be either a fire person or a river person. Okay? A second story. You like this story? I don't get any answer. I always like an answer from my audience, because very often people go off to sleep in talks. Whenever such talks happen, they all, because no work to do, nothing to occupy the mind, sir. You know. So I always like whoever I talk to respond. So I know that they're all awake. And just because your eyes are open doesn't mean you're awake. Because some people sleep with their eyes open. Isn't it true? So therefore, please answer. I'll feel good about it. Now, the second story. There was a king, very successful king. There was a grand function. And in that function, 3 brilliant people were introduced one by one. The king said, "This so-and-so is the best military leader that anyone can hope for, and all the glories of how he leads the military and his in this. He is there. And he was sitting there. He came and everyone gave a big hand to him. The second person that came was introduced. He is the best administrator possible. And all his glories and how he administers and how he runs the country was explained. Everyone clapped and applauded him. And he says this third person, he is the best external affairs minister. And how he has relations with all the other kingdoms and how he liaisons with them and trade and everything. So these three. So someone in the audience said, he is a great military person, he is a great administrator, he is a very great, what? External affairs person. How come neither of these three is the king? Oh king, what are your qualities? You talked about their qualities. Are you a good military strategist? Are you a great administrator? Are you very good with relations with other countries? Then how come all three are ministers and you are the king? He says, I know whom to appoint as the head of the military, head of the administrator and head of this portfolio. I identified them and I gave them the power, empowered them to do their work. This is the quality of a true leader. Are you understanding? What? Yo yasmin karmani kushalaha tasmin eva yoktavyaha. This is what is said beautifully in our scriptures. Whoever is efficient in whatever work, and everyone is efficient in something or the other, appoint them for that job. So the ability of the leader is to find out who is fit for what and put them there and empower them in that position. Because many times what happens, the leader understands, but then he interferes with what that person has to do, and the person doesn't function well. Is it true or not? So the leader must have the ability to what? Identify the right talents, put them in the right position and empower them to do their work. And then sit back and enjoy. Are you understanding? But very often I have found, in our country especially, right from the school and college days, we never do things which we are good at, and we always do things which we are not good at. Our children take professions based on a very silly factor called scope. Yes or no? Please tell me. And this word scope is translated as money. Is it true or not? Why did you become engineer? Swamiji, very good. What? Scope. A lot of you will be like that over here, isn't it? Scope. But you never had those abilities, you never had the inclination, you never had the aptitude for that particular role. But what happens? You took it. Why? Because everyone says it's good scope, good scope. And that is why we find right now 90% of engineers in this country are not doing anything to do with engineering. Say yes or no? Very small yes. Swamiji, you are talking about us only. You may do well, money is not doing well. You may get a very good job, you may get a lot of money, you may be so called very, very this, but are you doing something which is of your aptitude is the important thing. Are you understanding? You can be ordinary and good, but you become great when you do things which are of your aptitude. Have you got the point? You can be good at something which you practice and which is not of your basic inclination, but you can be good at it also but you can be great. You can shine and outshine if you do something which is of your inherent aptitude. So to be able to identify your aptitude, to be able to do something which is of your aptitude. I always remember Steve Jobs' address that he gave to the Stanford University students. Please, if you have not heard it already, go onto the net and hear it. He was addressing Stanford University, which is one of the best universities in the world. And he was saying that, you know, he was detected with cancer and all that, but years after that also he still lived. So he says, for any 1 week, in the morning I get an answer that I am not happy with what I am doing. For 1 week, he says, I change. I do something different so that I become actually happy doing what I want to do. And that is how he managed to create all these fantastic things that he could. Why? Because he says it's not worth it. Life is too small. I cannot waste it on doing things which are not me, not what really is of my own inherent talents and nature. What I am saying is, one is you yourself being able to find something which is of your aptitude is extremely important, and the other is someone recognizing that. The leader's job is to be able to recognize those inherent aptitudes and to put people in those right places and empower them. And if you do that, you are a great leader. Is that okay? Second story. Third story. Once a ruler, or you can say a CEO, he has to be appointed as CEO of a company. He went to his guru, who was living on top of the mountain in the Himalayas somewhere. So he says, I am going to become a what? An MD, a CEO of a big company. So please give me guidance of how I should, you know, do my job, do what I am supposed to do. So the guru said, okay, let's start walking down. So as they were walking, first he says, look at everything from the top. So he started looking, he said, describe it all. He started describing, oh, I can see this, I can see this, I see this, I see this, etc. They said, okay, let's start walking down. So as they were winding their way down the hill, every 5 minutes, the guru would ask the disciple, what do you see? Then he'll say, I am seeing this, this I can see better, this I could not see from there, but now I can see, oh, very good, this. Then they went down furthermore, kept on describing till they reached the bottom. So Guru said, your lesson is over. She said, what happened? I only was talking. He said, yes. Very, very important. What you see from the top is different from what you see from the bottom. Agreed? Yes? And at every step as you come down, you get a different view of the situation. Yes or no? Some things you don't see when you are on this side of the mountain. Some things you don't see when you are on this side of the mountain. Even when you are in the top, you only see some things in a general manner, but you don't see the details of things. And when you are all alone, you probably don't see much. Yes or no? When someone else is there, what do you see, what do you see? Then you start seeing, looking around, and you actually start seeing, oh, I see this, oh, I see this, okay, I can see this, I can. So two people are better at seeing than one. Agreed? You see all the lovely lessons that you can learn now? So when you are on the top, remember, What you see at the bottom is different. So try to see everything. Even as you lead from the top, try to see everything from all the different angles, all different perspectives, all different. So keep people with you who see things in different ways, and so that your vision of the whole thing is better. This is called leaders' qualities. Is it okay? Beautiful lesson. As you keep coming down, the view is different. From different angles, the view is different. So when someone is talking to you, you must understand from where they are sitting and talking. You understand? Otherwise, you talk from your side, you don't understand what they are talking from their side. There is a miscommunication because you are not seeing their angle at all, they don't see your angle at all. Does it not happen even in your day-to-day life at home? Yes. A woman's viewpoint is completely different from a man's viewpoint. Agreed? What so easily a woman can see, the man can't see at all. Husband and wife, all the time it must be happening. The husband will say, where are the socks? The wife will say, open the cupboard, right in front of you the socks are there. You just have to open the cupboard and right there only it is there. The husband will open, says, I can't see it. The wife will say, I know it is there, I have seen it is there, take it from there. I can't see it. The husband thinks that the wife is hiding them. But the wife knows it is right there. Finally, he says, I can't find them. What happens? The wife comes and says, see, right here. It will be in front of his eyes and he can't see. Yes or no? No wife is daring to say it. Why? Husbands are around or what? Does it not happen? Husbands are very bad at finding things. Right? The reason is not anything wrong. A man has a directional view, vision, and a woman has a wide angle vision. Are you aware of that? And that is why men make very good pilots, because they need to have that type of a vision. But women, everything happening anywhere around, they know. And men can't see because they are seeing. That's the way God made, doesn't matter, it's fine, because Bhagavan in his own intelligence made everyone the way they are. But if you have this understanding that a viewpoint of a woman is different from a viewpoint of a man, you will have the respect to ask the woman, what do you say about it? Not only think that the man's point is right or the woman's point is right, but you will know there is a different viewpoint. Are you understanding? Yes. Just to appreciate the fact that there is a different viewpoint and maybe it's right, who knows? In fact, the police in a particular place in USA, I think it was New York if I'm not too mistaken, a mayor said, I always appoint a woman as a police head in my precinct. Why? For the simple reason her viewpoint is very different and she gives the perspective which I can't even dream of. Are you understanding? I am just saying that when you are at the top, very often you don't see other viewpoints. And what happens is you are not effective then, for the simple reason because someone else has a different viewpoint. And even to understand the other person's viewpoint, you must accept that there can be other viewpoints also which may be right. Is it okay? Otherwise what happens? Normally we have the this authoritative leadership. Do it my way or hit the highway. What? My way is the right way and everyone must accept that. Okay, I am not saying that you keep on, getting 100 views and not being able to decide on which view is the right and this. Then finally you decide this is right and this is the way it has to be done. Okay, if there are consequences, fine, so be it. There may be a, flip side to this also, very likely. However, this is the way we have to do it. But this sort of an attitude of being able to see the other person's viewpoint is extremely important when you have to run a company, even you have to run your home. Is it true or not? What I am talking is as valid for any setup. Any organization, maybe it's a family unit, or it could be a society, or a nation, or any place, a company. Now, there was a time when I thought that the world was a biggest of big mess. You have to just read the newspaper to understand that. Agree? What all chaos and what confusions and what attitudes and all violence and such terrible things. It's almost depressing to read the newspaper. Do you agree? Now, so I said, Bhagwan doesn't seem to have done a good job of this creation world. I was quite I said, what a mess he's made of this world. He created this world and what a mess he made. Then I started thinking a little more. And I said, he is Sarvagnya, Sarvashaktiman, he definitely can't have created a mess. There must be something more behind this whole thing. And then I started thinking a little more and I realized, my God, if at all there is a CEO who is greatest of great, unbelievable, it is Bhagwan. A leader like no other leader in the world. And there is so much that you can just learn from him. Now, you all, there is a company, naturally there is being a company, it has its own set of rules. Do you have rules or not? All of you wear a uniform, which itself shows that all the ladies and the men and all, very nice, beautiful. And then I am sure there are other rules also. Your checking in time must be something, check out time must be something, and there must be, even within a department there are so many rules. You have what is called a job profile, right? So you do this, you don't do this, you have to do this is, you are responsible for this you can ask someone else to do. All sorts of rules and regulations, some are spoken and written and some are hidden, isn't it true? How to get work out of the boss, there are hidden rules, isn't it true? Some are spoken rules, some are only known inside, but no one speaks them outside. So all these rules etc. are there. Now, imagine a company, you make all the rules, but yet somehow or the other, some people have the knack of breaking all the rules or some of the rules. Is it true or not? And that becomes a big problem for any management, agreed? Do you agree with me? People don't do the work at the right time, or they do it in the wrong way, or someone does someone else's job which he is not supposed to do, etc., etc., etc. Right or wrong? Now, imagine Bhagwan has made all the laws of nature. You and I did not make them. Agreed? Yes? Did you make the laws of nature? If there is a law, there must be a law creator. Yes or no? You did not create it. Now the laws of nature till date, from thousands and billions of years, these laws have been made and not one single solitary law has been broken. Don't you think that's a great thing? Come on. Not a single law has been broken by anyone. You will say, no, Swamiji, what are you talking? People are breaking laws, all the nature's laws also. If you break a so-called nature's law, the result that will happen will also be according to nature's law. Yes or no? Supposing I eat too much, then there is something called reverse peristalsis and everything comes out. Yes or no? That is whose laws? Your law? Father-in-law made the law? Who made your law? That law? Follow. That same nature. Don't you think it's great? Now, supposing the boss is there all the time, if the boss has to be there present and then only do everything, then not a good boss, right? Even in the absence of the boss, if the department works very well, then you say, very efficient boss. He may not be around, but everything functions very well. Don't you think he's a great boss? Bolo, do you see Bhagwan anywhere around? Anyone? Do you see him? And yet all his laws are working or not? Amazing, isn't it true? Think of it. When I thought of it, I said, wow, the fact is everything in the world with zero exception is going according to his laws. All the wars are also fought by his laws only, isn't it true? If there is so much of violence in your heart, there will be hatred and you will have a war. Very, very true, his laws. Are you understanding? No law has been broken. All the wars are nothing but the result of what? Nature's laws. In action, everything is happening according to that. If you keep awake all that, we thought we were smarter than Bhagwan, and you and I as human beings were made to sleep at night and keep awake in the daytime. But we thought we were smarter than God, right? So what did we decide? Bolo, we will keep awake all night and what? Sleep? What will happen? You sleep all night, what will happen? You keep awake all night, what will happen? Peptic ulcers, yes or no? All the possible things, all the wrong things, it's also happening according to his laws. We think we have defied the law, we have got away with it, Bhagwan didn't understand how to do it, we did it, and what happened? The result is also according to his laws. A classic example is your body. I tell you, there is nothing, the greatest of lessons of leadership and everything, management and all, you can learn from your own body. How do things function in your body? No one does any other person's job. The eyes see, they don't hear. The ears hear, they don't see. The mouth eats, it does not digest. Isn't it true? And only what it can digest, it digests. The rest, it just goes and gives it to the next department, saying, it's your job, not my job. Are you understanding? No admixture of duties. When one department is not functioning, let's say the eyes don't see, the others become keen, more alert and compensate, but they don't take up the other person's job. Are you understanding? Wonderful lessons, na? Think about it. And all of them, with no exception, only and only work for the sake of the body. Yes or no? And if they don't work for the sake of the body, there's a lot of problem. Supposing the clearance department doesn't work, Are Rama, what a lot of problem. If the digestion is not working, lot of problem, right? Now, the very, very interesting thing, where do you put all the food? Right? Mukhya mukhaso hoi, that is what this is. The mukha is called mukhya. Mukhya means what? In Malayalam also, mukhya means what? Main. So, this is the main. This is like the ruler, the king, the leader. Mukhya. And the teeth are like the HODs or whatever you call them. Big guys, ministers, the teeth. So, when you put the food over there, you will give it to this one, and what will they do? The teeth will. Supposing one teeth thinks he is very smart and he keeps a little bit of food for himself. What will happen? Please tell me. Initially though, yeah, I got the food. After some time, what will happen to that teeth? And then what will we have to do? It will start paining. And then what will we have to do? Are you all understanding? Ministers, no, in our country, some of them are like that, na? In state and some places, no, like that. Then what happens? They take away. Then what? They become pain to everyone. Yes or no? Then they have to be. Are you getting the point? What is each supposed to do? It may take, but it eats and it has to do this. And then what happens? The whole body is blessed. Is it true or not? And no, I did all the chewing, so it must come back to me only. No, you will get your share and nothing more than that. Is it okay? In the well-being of the whole body is your well-being. When the leg pains, eye pain. When the head pains, eye pain. When the teeth pain, eye pain. Have you understood? You can't say leg pain, let it be. No. Labor pain, not my pain. You understand? Every pain of the whole body is my pain. Is it okay? So if this attitude is there, I tell you, we work what? All of you, at some time or the other in your life, it must have happened that when you are chewing, your teeth bit your tongue. Has it ever happened? When that happens, what do? Do you go to the dentist and say, remove all these teeth, unprovoked attack on my tongue? Do you do that? That same tongue goes and if there is some food left in the teeth, isn't it true? Think. Why? Because that tongue is me, that teeth is also me. That feeling is there, this whole thing is me. It must have happened sometime that you poked your finger in your eyes. What do you do then? I am never going to look at my eyes. I am at my finger. Do you do that? No. That same hand will go and wipe the tear that comes out of the eye. Is it true or not? Why? Because everything is me. Now this is the feeling that all must have. In any company you work or any unit that you work, everything is me. And the pain of anyone is my pain. The joy of anyone is my joy. Is it okay? It is not that this is the stomach's joy or the tongue's joy or the eye's joy. It is whose joy? My joy. If this sort of a feeling comes in everyone who works in the company, it's beautiful. Now, see, in the body, the outer skin holds the body together. But there are inner skeletal system, nervous system, which are even more important than just the skin. The skin may get punctured, but what holds the body is not just the skin, but the what? All this inner. Now, in a company, our Gurudev had a very, very, very beautiful statement in our pledge. It is given, we stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. What is it that should bind any organization together? The rules and regulations are the outer skin that binds them together, but it is love and respect, the inner core, which really holds. When trouble is there, let us say outside some trouble is there and this gets punctured, but if that inner core remains strong, then what happens? The company comes back again. Isn't it true? Whereas if these outer things are, are only things that hold together and inner love and respect is not there, then people don't work well together at all. Outside everything is fine, but inside there's a lot of stress and strain, and that is why in the present day a lot of people say, oh, it's such a strain working in the office, such a strain working in the company. Is it true or not? Till date, work has not killed anyone in the world. Good hard work never kills. What kills is what? Please tell me. The stress, the tension, the sorrow, the revenge, the jealousy, the pettiness, the likes, dislikes, hatreds and all of that. Yes or no? The stress is because of that, not because of hard work. And all this happens only because there is lack of what? Love and respect. Two extremely important things which must be there. So the leader's job is to see that this mutual love and respect holds the company together, holds everyone together, this mutual love. And it should start, the leader, yad yad acharati shreshtaha tatta deve tarojanaha. As the leader acts, so others follow. That's a fact of life. Even in your homes, as you do, whatever your children are going to do. Is it true or not? There is one nice story I will say and end my session. Once there was a family. The children were in Rajasthan, where it's really hot, vacation time, summer, you know how hot it is over there. So children wanted to go out and play, and the mother didn't want them to go out because it was so hot, and then you get a sunstroke over there, it's so hot. So she didn't want them to go out. So in the afternoon she said, okay, I'm going to give you some nice game, you have to play that game. So the magazine was there, and there was a map of India, the whole this. So she cut it up into small pieces and says, now put it all together. Stick it all nicely and you make a full map of India. She thought that they'll take at least 1 hour to do it, so that heat of the afternoon will go away, and then afterwards they can go out. And in 15 minutes time, the children had managed to do the whole map of India. And she said her children are not that smart. After all, the husband also had some contribution in making those children. So how come they managed to do it? What? So fast. He says, how did you manage to do it so fast? He says, Mummy, so easy. On the other side of the map of India was a picture of Amitabh Bachchan. He said, we made Amitabh Bachchan, the whole country got made. Have you got that? Each one becomes that leader, becomes that Adarsha, becomes that role model. What will happen? The whole country gets made. Is it okay? The whole company gets made, everyone gets made. Each one has to become that what? Role model. Wherever they are. I keep saying, please don't think, we always look at someone on the top there, which is good, we have to look up there. But remember, there's someone else looking at you also. You are a leader. Each one of us is a leader. And there is someone looking at us, looking up to us. So therefore, each one of us, we become a role model. Automatically what happens? You yourself rise up, and the higher you rise, the more people start following you, and before you know, you are on the top. Are you understanding? Yadyada charati shreshtaha tattadeve taro janaha. That's what the Bhagavad Gita gives as the mantra for success. If you have any questions to ask, you may please ask. That's why I stopped early. So you have a 10-15 minutes. You may ask questions if you so feel like. Just about 4-5 years back, I did a brain mapping of my thinking abilities and it's called the Neethling Brain Index, which I did. And they talk about the left side brain, right side brain, etc. And then they did another extremely interesting type of a brain sketch, they called it, where they found, this is another research that was done, that our fingerprints, the human fingerprints, between the age of 3 months, when you are in the womb of the mother, 3 months to 6 months, our fingerprints develop. After 6 months in the womb of the mother, your fingerprints don't change all your life. You all know that. That's why they have fingerprints as others. This part changes, all this changes, but these don't change. So that is the same time when the brain develops in the fetus. So they found a correlation between the brain and the what? Development of the fingerprints and this. So now through fingerprints they find out, because in the womb it is only inherent abilities of yours, isn't it true? It's not, no education is going to help there. It's what you were born with, right? You are in the womb of the mother and that. So the fingerprints, they give you a fantastic list of the first 25 professions which you would be good at. Now I went through this recently, and interestingly, the first profession in the list, I am an architect by profession, okay. I studied what? Architecture. The first profession that came in my list was mass communication, which I am doing right now, and I am pretty good at that, I know it. The second was philosophy, which is my life and soul. The third, interestingly, is languages. I keep writing books all the time. The fourth, most interestingly, is education, and I am in charge of the education cell of the Chinmay Mission, which runs 100 schools. Are you understanding? I am doing all the things which I was born to do, and I am a happy person. And interestingly, architecture in this 25 comes 24th number. Thank God I did not pursue architecture. I would have been miserable and made everyone else miserable around me. Are you understanding what I am saying? Some people are fortunate enough to discover their inherent aptitudes. I always say, supposing Birlas, now they have taken to, what do you call it, business like a fish to water. It's just in their blood, just they do it, isn't it? Supposing Birla, one of the Birlas, had become a professor in a university, he would have only thought how to make money, yes or no, because that's his inherent talent. You understand? Unfortunately, we never do things which are this, and therefore we may be so called successful in the outer world and all that, fine, we've got a job, we get promotion, we get money, we get all of that, but that inherent, I'll give you another example. We had a doctor who came and retired in our home, a husband and wife team. Both of them were doctors, and they were responsible for setting up one big huge hospital in Bangalore. When they retired, they came and said, I'll settle down in the ashram. So they were both of them in the ashram. Now we run a rural development center, a clinic, free medical clinic. So naturally these two doctors have come and they are retired in the ashram. So I said, you go and see, whether we are doing what we are doing is right or wrong, and there's a doctor there, but you go and see. That gentleman said, don't tell me to go anywhere near a medical this. I will not go. Can you imagine? You think doctors means for all their life they will be interested in medicine. He says no. The wife went and she used to go every day. Then I said, what does this husband of yours do whole day in the room? He doesn't come out of the room except to eat his food. What does he do whole day? He's saying, Swamiji, you come inside and see what he does. When I went there, I saw there were books and books that he had of architectural designs done by him. Whole day he spends. He doesn't even miss food, nothing, he doesn't want anything. If any of his friends says, I want to build a house, he'll say, I will design for you. Now, all life he was a very well respected doctor, so called successful in life, but that was not his heart and soul. Doing architecture was his heart and soul. Are you understanding? Whole life he never got a chance to do it. He says, now I finished this medicine, I don't even want to see a single patient all my life. All I will do is make architectural drawings. Are you getting the point? He is happy now. He is actually happy now. Because he got success, he got money, he got fame, but he didn't get that inner thing. I know of a Supreme Court judge. After retiring, Supreme Court judge, can you imagine that fame, name? After retiring, now at that age he can't join medical college. So they all become homeopathy doctors that time. And you dare not sneeze in front of him. The minute you sneeze, he will give you some medicine. Because his medicine was his heart and soul, but he became a judge. Scope. So even if you don't want to change your profession, at least keep a hobby which is of your inherent qualities. Is it okay? Yes? Because you won't be able to change. You won't have the guts to change. You understand? Most of us don't have the guts to change because we are Indians typically. But if you have the guts to change and you think you can, fine. But if you don't, at least keep a hobby which gives you that inner satisfaction, brings out what is in you, which is really what you are. Yeah? And what I feel the saddest is when young people, because they have what is called this campus interview, Ayyo, Rama, and they're so interested in just getting to a job, getting into a job, getting into a job, just from that campus, they don't even want to discover who they are. And what happens, I know of a girl, she got a job because of a campus interview, meaning they took her this, and after that, the day after that, she says, I don't like that, I can't even this. I said, then just drop it, don't go. He says, no, then they said, you can't give another campus interview because you've accepted one, so you can't do that, so I'm stuck with it. She's not even started a job, and she already doesn't like it, and she's going to be stuck with it all her life. What a sad state. How can young people not be adventurous enough to be able to start and do things which they really are good at? Are you understanding? All their life they suffer. Then they will be always mediocre. They won't become those great leaders. Okay. Thank you very much. Hari Om and Namaskar to all of you, and hope to see you all very much in the lecture hall. I hope I have thrown some light on leadership mantras.